right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Friday, May 31st. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
I'm Pat. Wow. Wow. So, okay, let's get into it. The body has surfaced. That is the big news on this episode. We're going to get to
Yep.
all these movies coming out, what the holdovers are going to do, the box office, but the big news is Clayton's body has surfaced. It's bubbled up. It's floated down the river. It's been poked with a stick. It's been dragged onto the dirt. It's been, water squirted out of all orifices, and it's talking. So Clayton's body, welcome back to the BO Boys as you now audition for the co-hosting gig. I'm very
Wow.
excited for you here.
So I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Can you remember or think of
Uh-huh.
a co-host ever in history that
Mm-hmm.
has been ruder to their fellow co-host than
Okay.
you have been to me these past 2 episodes when I
Uh
was not on mic?
right.
I mean,
Unable
I'm
to
trying to
defend
think,
yourself. Yeah.
in the annals of duos, I
Right.
mean, Siskel and Ebert, right? The 2 guys.
Mm.
We've
Mm-hmm.
seen them, you know, being disrespectful to each other, uh, during the cutout parts of promos, and
Yes,
they would
yes.
get a little heated on mic.
Yeah.
But they would never, when one of the other one was away, spend half of the episode
Mm-hmm.
talking about how much better
Right.
and how much more they would prefer the replacement co-host than the original host who built the show. I mean, and
I,
I think that's the
well,
thing that
let's
needs to
think
be
back.
remembered is that I built this show. I mean, with you, and I'm not going to sit here and denigrate what you've given to the BO Boys and how the rivets you put in the side of the hall. I'm not going to say you didn't do it. We
Right.
were on
Well,
opposite
everyone
sides of the
knows.
hall,
Yeah, they've
putting the
listened,
rivets in, right? Putting the rivets in.
putting the rivets in. Yes,
And
I totally
somehow,
understand.
you know, you have and listen, I don't blame Christopher. All right. I don't blame Christopher because he's just a young man who is really, really wanting to succeed in this world. I understand that. You could see he reached out to us to become an intern. We didn't look for interns. Christopher said, I want to be your intern.
And he's excelled, and now he's in the running for this prime position here, and it's very
So here's
exciting.
the thing. Here's the thing. He's got his own position to be running for as VP of interns.
Right.
That should be the track that he is on, right? If he does not want to take that track, if he wants to take the track of talent, then it's a different track, right?
Well,
So,
let's focus on me here. What did you're saying that in the
well, yeah.
days when your body was floating around the country, wherever it was, and I haven't asked, and it's not my business. But you're saying that I was unfair to you on this air. And I mean, listen, are we sure? I mean, we should go back and check the records or read Matt Singer's great book about Siskel and Ebert. When Siskel was recovering from various brain surgeries, are we sure that Roger Ebert didn't talk about what we're going to do with Siskel's severed head,
Mhm.
or tell A.O. Scott that you're the best co-host I've ever had? I mean, that may have happened. I don't remember. I watched the episodes then, but I don't remember. Ebert may have done that.
I read Matt Singer's book.
Great book. Great book.
Great
We had
book.
him on. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was not in there. And I feel
Okay.
like when you're trying to sell a book, those are the sort of things that you do put in a book.
Mhm.
I
Okay. So
just
Ebert
and
didn't
that's the
do
thing
that.
this whole time, and I'll admit, I sent you some inflammatory texts about Christopher. I'm not gonna deny these.
Okay. Wow.
These
Okay.
are things that I sent, and they exist in the digital realm.
Uh huh.
But I was sitting there and I was thinking, this is just part of Pat's Machiavellian scheme
Hmm.
because he was trying to get me riled up. You were trying to get me riled up. And you
Well, it's great
succeeded.
radio, obviously. It's
You
great
succeeded,
radio.
but at what cost? At the cost of a nice young man who's just ambitious? Because I had all intentions to come on to this episode and tear into Christopher like
Wow.
a
Again, let's bring it back to
lion.
us.
Stop it.
Let's bring it back
Stop it.
to us.
No, I'm saying it. Like a lion ripping into a cub. I was gonna do it. I
Oh,
was
wow.
fully had
Okay.
intention to do it. And then I realized I would only really feel that way if I thought that my job was actually in danger. And if I thought that this could continue without me. And I thought about it
Right.
and I was like, it can't. It won't. I mean,
Oh, we'll see. I mean, we're in a new era of the show.
see,
We're in the post Clayton era, which
yeah,
I'm happy you're getting to be a part of the post Clayton era.
yeah. See, this is the kind of stuff. You know what I'm going to leave it up to? I'm going to leave it up to the audience. The audience
Okay.
can make their decision. I mean, if they
Well, we
don't
are going to
want
have a
me,
poll on who the next host is.
yeah, but who's going to run the Twitter poll? We all know how that works
Well, of
because
course, Christopher does under my guidance. Yes,
yeah,
of
of course.
course.
Okay, here we go. So
Yeah.
that's the thing is that I am not going to apologize for missing 2 shows. Number 1, I'm not going to do that because everybody deserves a little bit of time to themselves.
Hmm.
And I know that, you know, all the wanna BO boys, wanna BO girls, wanna BO people
People. Yes.
were, thoughts and prayers, wanting me to come back, expecting me to come back, and are thrilled that I'm back. I mean, the great Kirk Minahan, I'm
Hmm.
sure is thrilled right now. Not that he doesn't
Oh, of
like
course.
Christopher, huh? But listen, he started listening to the show because of you and me, not you and a
Right.
succession of fill-in hosts. Because I'll tell you what, and Kirk, please respond to this. If that is the case, you'll probably stop listening. I would assume you would stop listening. You
Oh,
would try.
he
You
loves
would
a parade
try.
of oddities. No,
No,
he would love the parade of oddities I would trot out here.
no, no.
No,
I disagree. It
I
might for a few if you got a few people that were interesting, but after a while, you know, it's Ebert and Roper. It's Roper and A.O. Scott. It's like that's the thing. It's like those things
or
don't.
it's and this is a very localized reference, but Mike and the Mad Dog, and they split up, and Mad Dog went and did his thing, and then it was just Mike for years, and he was number one. And
But
anyone
guess
who
what?
came at him, they were coming at him with pea shooters, and you
Who-
had to
But
bring more than a pea
but
shooter, and he was still number one.
he didn't replace the Mad Dog.
Oh, yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's what you're trying to do.
The
Oh,
new era may not need a replacement. It
oh,
could be a
oh, so
parade of oddities for a while, and then
all right. Well, listen. Okay, here's the thing, Christopher, then. Listen up. Listen up to what this man just said. This man said that it'll be what, a parade of oddities? I guess you're an oddity, and then he won't need you at the end. So you see what you're dealing with here, Christopher. Do you
oh,
really want to get
a complete megalomaniac,
okay, that's what
obviously.
I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
But when you missed your episodes, which you've missed episodes, this has somehow been
Never 2 in a
forgotten.
row. Never 2 in a row. That's the Rubicon that was crossed. It was 2 in a row.
I did not say anything bad about you. I didn't
Oh, no. You
I
were
only
great. You were so nice. Yeah.
I only prayed for your recovery,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And that is
And
not being
prayed for me to have
reciprocated.
fun on my vacation, because the first time I missed an episode, I was just on vacation.
Yeah, so the fact that you missed shows, one for serious reasons, one for just globetrotting, which
Yeah.
I completely disagree with as a thing to do. I think you should stay in America always.
Mhm.
The fact that it was 2 in a row somehow has become a rule that you can't cross that.
2 in a row is a big deal. 2 in a row is a big deal. So
Now,
that's where we got to.
lest we forget though,
Mhm.
not only so I missed these 2 episodes and the box office completely fell apart.
That is the
So
big thing you have in your favor, is that you missed the episodes, and it seems like people just stayed home from going to the movie theaters. I mean, let's get into
because
box
they
office.
didn't know what to do because they didn't have their captains.
Yeah.
They only had one captain steering the ship, and they had, I'm sorry, a guy who mops the deck. Listen,
Well,
he's
they
gonna
had a
come at
cabin.
me.
They had a cabin boy. They had a cabin
The
boy.
cabin boy mops the deck. And Christopher, I love you. You know I love you, but you came for me. You're gonna come for me and then expect me to just say, "Oh, okay, it's fine, it's whatever," right? When you roughhouse with a lion and you're a cub, you're gonna get scratched. That's what happens. And this is what happens when you come for the lion. So if you want to come for the lion, come for his fucking neck. All right.
Well, he
Don't
did.
paddle his balls around.
He did
Okay.
talk about kicking your severed head around on a late night talk show. So I would say he came for the neck. Let's not lowball his efforts there. He came for the neck.
Now, listen, if that's how we roll now, then that's how we roll. And it's up to you because I'll go either way. We can go back to how we used to be, which is barely talking or interacting whatsoever and all going through Pat, or me actively disliking you. Those are the two options. And there's nothing in between. So either
Does
one of
does
those.
this lead to you forming an alliance with Jack? Because I mean, you got to give Jack credit. He stayed totally out of this. He's actually on leave right now for a couple of weeks because he has other duties. But he has stayed out of the vying for Clayton's seat
Well,
controversy.
let's just say if there was a hierarchy of interns,
Right.
my hierarchy would not be your hierarchy. Okay.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And I'm
Very
just trying to be respectful because also he's a good kid. He's ambitious. You want ambition. If we would have hired a kid who came in and had to fill in, had to
right.
jump in at the last minute and sat there in the chair being like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know
Right.
what to say. Oh, I miss
Right.
Clayton so much." That's
Right.
terrible. That's
Oh,
terrible radio,
yeah,
right?
terrible radio. This guy
But there
came
is
in looking to cut your throat,
and that
and that's
but
what we want.
and
That's what
I'm
you want.
just saying there's something in between. There's something in
Okay.
between, right? There's something in between.
There's something
I
in
mean,
between, but we come on, be honest. You wouldn't respect anyone who sat in that seat and didn't try and kill you off. You
well,
deep down, you wouldn't have any respect for someone who did any less than that.
because at the end of the day, it means that it means that this seat means something. And
Exactly.
if that seat didn't feel like something that Christopher wanted, then that means I wasn't doing my job.
Exactly. So in the end, the fact that we were so awful about you while you were gone just shows that you built something in that seat that's worthwhile.
Yeah,
Because if people don't shit on you, then you ain't done shit. That's
there we go.
why a person on a street corner once yelled at me. So
Nice.
there you go. Um, we did get an email from Wannabeo disappointed Caleb. Subject: Where's Clayton's loyalty? Dear Pat, when you went to France, did you miss an episode? When you had a kidney stone, how many episodes did you miss? One. During a global pandemic, how many weeks did you guys skip? Where is Clayton? We demand answers. Even if he's in a shallow grave, he should at least have enough cell reception to live stream. So the people were out there. Listen, I take that as an email where he just wanted to know where you were and wanted you to live stream, even if you were in the moment dying and being buried alive. So I think, again, that shows the passion of our fans
Oh,
that they want that
100%.
from you. Yeah.
100%. 100%. We did
Well,
not
here's
receive any emails that said, "Glad he's gone."
we didn't. We did not get any emails that said thank God. So you do have that, but the polls will go up soon and we'll get this settled in a fair way run by Christopher under my direction. But Clayton, let's get into the box office. The box office did collapse while
Mhm.
you were gone. So what is your a few days later, you've got the hindsight with you here. I mean, let's just focus on Furiosa. What the hell
Yeah.
happened here? Because I mean,
I
Garfield is going to be. It was a cheapie. It
Mhm.
didn't do nearly as well as everyone hoped, but no one's going to lose their shirt over Garfield. Furiosa
No.
is the one that is. I mean, Scott Mendelson today just said the subject of his latest article on the Outside Scoop, Furiosa is a dud. The
Yeah.
math doesn't lie.
I mean, speaking of our tribal chief,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of nailed this
Mm-hmm.
with his fears. He said it's a prequel to a movie that really did not do all that well at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't star the person that made this character iconic,
Right.
and it's just not a tentpole movie
Right.
franchise. And that's all true. I mean, we're trying, I think the thing that we're all hoping for is a replacement for superhero movies. We're
Mm-hmm.
hoping that something comes like a superhero and
Right.
saves us.
Right.
And it's going to take a while for that sort of thing to build. You can't just say, well, we're not doing capes anymore. So let's take a cape off Chrissy Hemme, make him a weird bad guy, and throw him in a post-apocalyptic film based on a series that has done okay at the box office, but has never been a billion-dollar baby franchise. And let's hope that this saves our summer. I mean, we did it with Fall Guy, where Fall Guy was supposed to be this big breakout, and it was what we thought it was, which is a action comedy, and it did what an action comedy movie does.
Right. It
And
should have
so,
been a Ben Stiller movie in 2008 in the end.
yes,
That is what the treatment that property deserved. And not
yes,
mocking that, but that's what it is. It should be a mid-budget comedy.
yeah, and I think that is the trap we're all sort of falling into, is that we want tent poles when there's no real tent poles at the moment. And
Right.
you know, there was no must-see element to Furiosa
Right.
because it didn't have Timothy Chalamet, who I do think is a guy who would bring butts to the seats. You know,
Mhm.
it didn't have I have to see this or I am out of the loop sort of thing that even something like, and I'm gonna say it,
Okay.
Snivel War had. Now, Snivel War
Mhm.
is not a huge hit. I mean, it made a good amount of money. It's a big hit for A24. It made good money for its budget. But there
Civil
was
War might make more domestic in the end than Furiosa. They
oh, that
opened the same.
yeah. So
You know,
that's the thing
Furiosa
is
had the 4-day weekend, so but they both open to what? Like 25, 26 domestic in the 3-day, and I think Furiosa is gonna not hold nearly as well as Civil War did.
I mean, because it's got the scent of a stinker. That's the
Yeah.
problem too, is like that's the problem when this
Mhm.
happens is it's got the scent of a stinker on it. And I think that is the thing that we're all gonna have to weather. And I was saying before my sabbatical that we were going to have to come on here at some point and tell people the sky isn't falling. But, the sky isn't falling, but definitely there needs to be a change in the mentality of the studios to connect with the audience
Right.
because they are just not connecting with what the audience wants. And who knows what that is? I mean, we don't get paid to figure that out
Well,
like
it's
they
Five Nights
do.
at Freddy's. It's
But
properties that teenagers and people in their 20s care about, which is
yeah.
not Mad Max.
hmm I mean,
You know, boomers and Gen Xers like us barely care about Mad Max. Never mind like the people who make up your majority of who goes in the movie theaters. They want younger IP. They don't want this musty old IP
yeah.
like Mad
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah, and Garfield. I mean, Garfield, I think we were overstating how much in the pop culture Garfield is because does Garfield even have a shitty computer animated show on any of these kids networks right now?
I
I
don't
don't think he does.
he doesn't have a Ninja Turtles. There's no anime Garfield, at least not in a major way.
Because we had Garfield and Friends. That was our Garfield.
Yes.
And that was a Saturday morning
Hashtag
cartoon.
Garfield. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know if this has any sort of I mean, it might have some weird cash in, badly animated computer, cartoon series going on right now, but the fact that I don't know that
Right.
means that it's not Bluey, that's for sure. Oh,
Do
there
you
is.
did you know that there is there's a computer animated Muppet Babies?
I did know. I did
Okay,
know
so
for
you
sure,
did know
yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. But
And, yeah, and so that's the thing with Garfield is that, yeah, he's musty too. This cat
He's
has seen
musty.
better days.
Yeah.
So you can't rely on this old shit because Mario is different than Garfield. Mario has still maintained his popularity over decades
Yeah.
with games. I mean, Mario is somebody that people still spend a lot of time with at home
Exactly.
playing with. Where
Yeah.
Garfield, I think nobody barely spends any time with him in any capacity other than if you got to drag a bunch of kids to a theater to see it. And
Yeah.
people just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. And again, Furios is the bigger one, and that is the studio trying to chase superhero movies by just throwing money at the budgets.
Mhm.
And I mean, we talked about it in the last episode. The original Mad Max trilogy were just indie movies that all came out before Mel Gibson was really Mel Gibson. The
Mhm.
entire Mel Gibson Mad Max trilogy came out in theaters pre-Lethal Weapon.
Mhm.
This is not Ghostbusters or some Back to the Future where it's like these are giant hits that you know what, we got to try it again. And Fury Road wasn't a giant hit.
Dude, when
It,
Fury
it has
Road
a great reputation. It's a great movie, and it was up for Best Picture, but that was not a box office sensation.
when it came out, it was a shock that it did anything because of the fact that it was already musty. It was in 2015 musty. And so this is almost 10 years later. And then you have Anya Taylor-Joy, who I do think is a great actor. We both are big fans.
Yeah.
But Young Furiosa, the comments that I got, and this is from people that are not educated into actually seeing the movie. They haven't seen the movie, but this is what matters when they make a decision to see a movie.
Mm-hmm.
They thought, no way she's Furiosa.
Mm-hmm.
She's too small.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was I had conversations with people during my sabbatical talking about box office, of course, got to keep the mind sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their take was, I don't know if I want to see it because I like Anya Taylor-Joy, but she's not Furiosa.
What if, and again, I think we're both on the same page that they shouldn't have made this movie. But if they were going to do a Furiosa, and I guess this person wouldn't have been a viable candidate when it goes into production, but would a Furiosa starring Caitlin Clark be a bigger movie than Furiosa starring Anya Taylor-Joy? Because she's someone who people would buy
Mhm.
as the intimidating, athletic Furiosa.
Yeah, I mean, my thought with that is she would have to have done an SNL hosting because she only did a Weekend Update. I think
Okay.
that would have been her audition to be in a full-length feature because listen, Nancy Kerrigan, we thought maybe she could have had an acting career. She hosts SNL. We're like, no, that's not in the cards. I think
Right,
you
right,
have to do the SNL hosting as an athlete to then be like, oh, maybe they can act. So if she had passed the SNL gauntlet, hosted, been good, then yeah, I do think that she could have been a better Furiosa, 100%.
yeah, yeah. I think people would buy Caitlin Clark as Furiosa. It's almost a shame that this movie already was made and came out because I think if this didn't exist, then you announce Furiosa's coming out starring Caitlin Clark, and I think that's the value add that makes people
Mhm.
say, "I've got to see Caitlin Clark act in IMAX."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
well, because I think that's something that you need to stress is that seeing an athlete act badly, not that she'd be bad, but say it's bad,
yeah,
on a regular screen is whatever. But
right,
to sell it as try to see her act in IMAX,
right,
I think that's a draw. And I
yeah,
think that's something that studios should buy into more, where it's let's take this person who might not be an actor and
right,
put him in a big movie that is in IMAX theaters because you will get to see somebody act either shockingly good for your expectations or shockingly bad on the
right.
biggest screen possible. I think that is a draw, at least for
What
me.
if Furiosa, instead of starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Chrissy Hemme, had
Mhm.
starred Caitlin Clark as Furiosa and as the villain, Travis Kelce. That movie, I would say, opens $15 million higher than this movie did in its opening weekend. Whether it would be good, I mean, whether
Oh, yeah.
either of them would even be passable as actors in the leads of a 2.5 hour movie, that I can't say. But I think they open this movie much bigger than Chrissy Hemme and Anya Taylor-Joy.
I think that is a great casting.
Yeah.
I think that's a great casting. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I mean, I think Travis Kelce is a guy that you do exactly what I said to do, which is cast him in a big action movie, put it on IMAXs,
Yeah.
and let's see this guy fail or see him succeed.
Yeah. 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 I mean, this movie needed something to make it special
Mhm.
because it was not going to get the kind of reviews that Fury Road did, where Fury Road ended up getting a Best Picture nomination. So when that doesn't happen, what's the draw of seeing a movie where the critics are like, "Oh, it's not as good as Fury Road, but it's still really good." That it's just a letdown off the bat. That's the big issue. There was just nothing spectacular about this that is going to make people feel like this is a special event.
Yeah,
And
Fury
again, also Mad Max in the end just doesn't mean anything because it was an indie franchise. It would be, we're going to do 3 movies based on Suicide Kings, or it's like
and
maybe not at that level, but you know what I'm saying. These were not giant 80s hits.
and as much as Tom Hardy subjugated himself for George Miller by being a Mad Max that's basically tied to the front of a car and
Mhm.
and muzzled for most of the movie. He at least was in the movie.
Right.
Now, I haven't seen this film. I don't think Mad Max is even in this.
From what I've heard, there is no Mad Max character in this movie.
So
Yeah.
you're doing a movie that's based on the Mad Max IP, which I get it, it's a spinoff, and I understand that. I'm not
Right.
stupid. I know who Furiosa is, and I know that movies have been made like this. The
Right.
Scorpion King, hello.
Hello. Yeah.
But when the fact that Mad Max isn't even a very strong IP, and then you're just gonna take Mad Max out of it,
Right.
I think that also is a thing that can't be understated.
Right. Right. Um, and just to tie a bow on Furiosa here, do we even want to bring up that once again, Chrissy Hemme has been part of another disastrous IP attempt? I mean, this is
Dude,
Men in Black, Answer the Call, a Ghostbusters saga.
mhm.
And I feel like there's one other one where he was plugged into an IP that I can't think of now. The El Royale IP, I think was an original.
That was an
Um,
original.
but I mean, he did a Moby Dick movie basically for In the Heart of the Sea. So this is really, I mean, there's no nail in the coffin. He's going to play Thor 40 more times, I'm sure, but my god, there is just no angle where audiences want to see him as anything other than Thor.
I know. I mean, this has got to be a bad week for him. And it's hard to think that a beautiful, handsome, rich actor with the physique of a god
Mhm.
could have a bad week,
Mhm.
but this is a bad week for him,
Yeah.
you
Snow White
know?
and the Huntsman. That was
The other
he was
one.
in the original that was a hit, but it was starring Kristen Stewart, and then they spun it off without Kristen Stewart with him as the lead, and that movie completely tanked at the box office when the that was Huntsman Winter's War.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I
another
mean,
another similar thing. They had him be the star of a sequel or prequel to an IP without the original character in it, and it just completely flopped.
the biggest franchise he's been in that wasn't Thor had him killed in the beginning of the first movie
Oh,
because
the Star Trek movies.
he
Yeah.
plays James Kirk's dad in the Star Trek reboot.
Yep.
And so that's the biggest grossing other franchise that he's been a part of, and they kiboshed him immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Chrissy Hemme, listen, we use Chrissy Hemme because anytime we have talked poorly using this actor's real name, the footage of our episodes gets destroyed.
Yep. That
That
has
is
happened.
not a lie. That is not hyperbole. That is not what some podcasts would call a bit, huh? Because we don't
Huh.
do bits on this podcast. We talk
No.
about information,
Yeah, real talk.
real talk, and that is what happens. And how long is that power going to last? I'm almost at the point where I'm going to say his name because after this movie, what pull does he have? Who's gonna
Wow.
destroy the footage of the BO Boys episodes talking about this actor, talking about Chrissy Hemme? I can't do it yet
You
because
can't do it. You
we're
still
so far
know.
into the episode. We're too far into the episode. If it was the
Yeah,
beginning
yeah.
of the
We can't
episode,
lose this footage. We
we can't
can't.
lose this footage because
Yeah.
it's late and I'm tired and we can't do this again.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say it. But you know what? Next time a movie opens starring Chrissy Hemme, I'm saying his name because at
Wow.
that point, he's not gonna have the pull he once had.
Wow. Wow. That's huge. And that's a great tease for a future episode down the road. So this is a weekend preview episode, and we have not talked about any of the new movies that are coming out. And there's no huge movie, but there are several movies. There's quantity, not quality this weekend. Have you watched the trailer for Summer Camp, the film starring Diane Keaton, Kathy Bates, Alfre Woodard, Beverly D'Angelo as ladies of a certain age who go back to the summer camp that they went to as children and they reunite? Have you seen this trailer?
I have not seen this trailer. Is it a Gravitas Ventures film? Who is releasing this film?
This is another roadside attraction.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's roadside attraction. So that's giving me Palms sort of feelings here.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think I don't know if Palms is roadside attraction, but I just think we're not talking book club here. We're not talking 80 for Brady. I think
So
we're
they do
talking
say
Palms.
from a producer of book club in the trailer, and the trailer, which I did watch, uses the book club font
Okay.
throughout. And
So
that sort of they're really trying to get you to think like they've done pretty much in all of the genre of movies, this genre of movies since book club. They all try and make you think this is actually a sequel to book club.
they just go to camp now.
Yeah. Yeah. They really want you to think, oh no, these were the book club ladies.
Yeah.
And now this is a new adventure with them. They want you to think Jane Fonda is going to show up.
Now, sight unseen.
Yeah.
I really like that concept. Now,
Yes.
I don't
It's a
know
great, yep.
how far it'll travel, actually. I don't know how clever it'll be, but, you know, women of a certain age going back to their summer camp,
Hmm.
I'm into that.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're getting to the age where we've got to be into that. So
Mhm.
this is in a way aimed at us. The male lead in this movie, the object of their affections, is Eugene Levy. And what's interesting about watching this trailer is Eugene Levy is kind of cast in the role that Andy Garcia
Mhm.
has played in these movies. He's not playing the bumbling guy who doesn't know, which way is up and he doesn't know where to stick it. And, he's playing the guy who all these women of a certain age want to go to bed with. So, I mean, good on Eugene Levy for landing that part of landing basically the part that Andy Garcia said no to.
What a glow up for Eugene Levy. Let me
Mhm.
tell you,
Yep.
because even in the 80s, he was not cast as a ladies' man. Then, of course, he had his 90s run with American Pie that then gave him many opportunities to be a buffoon.
Mhm.
And, Schitt's Creek, it's TV. We don't talk TV, but he did play more of a sophisticated guy on that show, a
Mhm.
little bit
Mhm.
more slicked back.
Yep.
And later in life turning into a sort of Don Juan ladies' man
Mhm.
character actor. I mean, wow.
Yeah,
You
Eugene
gotta
Levy's a
respect
Latin
that.
lover, yeah.
You gotta respect that.
Yeah, though, that said,
Hmm.
would this film, Summer Camp,
Mhm.
do you think there'd be more buzz around it and you'd have more hope for its box office if this was American Pie presents Summer Camp
Yeah.
and Eugene Levy was not playing the suave guy, he was playing Jim's dad going to summer camp?
Well, I think it would be great if it was Jim's dad and a bunch of the moms of the American Pie characters. You
Oh,
would have to have Stifler's mom there.
which she easily could have been in this. I mean, this is a movie where
No, I think she's sort of she's getting
mm,
better parts than this.
but in movies, this is Diane Keaton. As many Emmys or Golden Globes as Stifler's mom might be winning for a TV show right now, Diane Keaton won Best Actress Oscar, and she's a movie star. So I don't think that Stifler's mom is above playing second or third fiddle in a movie to Diane Keaton.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment, I do think that she's getting better offers than this. Stifler's
Okay.
mom is getting better offers than this.
But say then she had a pass on this. She didn't Stifler's mom did not come back to play Stifler's mom in this American Pie Presents Summer Camp. I do think American Pie Presents Summer Camp would starring Diane Keaton. I mean, getting Diane Keaton in an American Pie Presents movie,
Oh, that's
that feels
huge.
like an event.
That's huge. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. That's like getting that would be like getting Orson Welles in a National Lampoon movie,
Mhm.
which may have happened or may not
May
have
have
happened. I'm
happened.
not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if National Lampoon presented that Peas commercial that he did on his final day.
Yeah, and he was not alive still to be in Cattle Call, National Lampoon's Cattle Call, because I didn't finish that movie,
Mhm.
but I assume that Orson Welles did not cameo in it.
No, I don't think he did. What was the one that we watched some of one time um on Pluto TV? I feel like it was American Pie Presents like Boat Days.
No, that was a National Lampoon, and it was Dorm Days.
Okay. That was okay. Right, right, right. So Summer Camp also has Kathy Bates.
Mhm.
Does Kathy Bates mean anything at the box office? I mean, we love
Absolutely
her as an actress.
0.
Mean 0.
At the box office, she means 0.
Yeah, great actress, but yeah,
Number 1 in our hearts.
this movie also has Nicole Richie and Josh Peck. Will they help the box office this
Oh,
weekend?
okay, hold on, hold on,
Hold on,
hold on,
hold
hold
on.
on. Josh Peck was just in the Best Picture winner
Right, he
of
was in
last year.
Oppenheimer.
He
Right.
was in Oppenheimer. Josh Peck is the biggest star right now in this movie.
Okay, well, he's the hottest star right now. He's on the hottest streak. He's on a hotter streak than Diane Keaton.
Okay, but I'm saying you're right. He's the hottest star right now.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I feel like we've gotten some Diane Keaton movies post book club that have tried to capitalize on book club, and those really haven't worked out. And it doesn't seem like summer camp is going to change that. It's not going to bring back the book club magic.
No. Book Club was a one of a kind, it feels like.
Mhm. Mhm.
Although 80 for Brady for a second there felt like it could be something, but it did sort of not have the legs, which we understand because it was really a timed release
Right.
for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, 80 for Brady, I think, was the of that genre, the book club rip-offs, that definitely was the most successful and made 40 million domestic total. And I don't think any of the other Diane Keaton type vehicles in the last couple of years have gotten close to that.
Well, she had Mac and Rita, a movie that famously got
Yep.
a D cinema score, and we were so shocked that this innocuous movie could get such a low score. If
Mhm.
it would have been an F, it would have been better, but it got a D, and neither of us ever watched it, correct? Even though
I
it
d
did star our beloved Simon Rex.
I tried watching it on Hulu and I did fall asleep, and I've never tried again.
Yeah.
So I did not stay awake for whatever got it a D. So yeah, Summer Camp, I don't think is gonna make a big dent. Another movie coming out this weekend from Disney, uh, a Jerry Bruckheimer production. It's called, Young Woman and the Sea, and it stars Daisy Ridley, the Star Wars sequels. It's, based on a book by Jeff Nathanson, and this was a movie that was made for Disney Plus, but it's
Mhm.
getting a theatrical release because of the box office success of The Boys in the Boat. So,
Wow.
interesting move by Disney to take a D plus movie and put it in theaters, and good on The Boys in the Boat for inspiring at least one movie to go from streamo to theatrical.
Now, I was on a plane. I
Okay.
was on several planes
Wow.
recently,
So that's how they transported your body during
y
this last couple of weeks.
and I saw several, several people
Mhm.
watching The Boys in the Boat
Wow.
on said planes. Several people on several planes.
Wow.
So, this is a movie that's resonated,
Mhm.
and I think that's great when one streamer can kinda goose another streamer to put a movie in the theaters,
Mhm.
because Boys in the Boat is an Amazon movie, so they very easily coulda kept it and put it on Amazon Prime, but they didn't,
Mhm.
and now D+, Plus, who is famously likes to just keep hold of their crappy product,
Right, right.
is now putting this on the big screen. It's positive. It's
Yep.
positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, that said, do we think that Young Woman in the Sea has any chance of being a Boys in the Boat situation?
Absolutely not, because I just don't think as many books as this movie, whatever, book this movie's based on has sold, it ain't sold as many as Boys in the Boat.
The same soul as made Boys in the Boat. And also I think there's just no real marketing campaign behind this in
No.
the way that the Boys in the Boat, they did promote it. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
Amazon was promoting that movie, and this totally feels like Disney decided to throw in theaters, but they did not really give it a
No.
theatrical push.
A
That's
and that's again, you can't do that. You have to pay.
yeah.
You have to pay to get people to see these movies. The thing with Boys in the Boat, though, also is that they had Clooney. Clooney was out there bopping
Right.
around, and as much as we talk poorly about his stardom, like his butts in the seat stardom and maybe his directorial prowess, he was a guy who got this movie made, and he got this movie in theaters, and he got this movie to be a pretty, solid hit,
Yeah.
and that had a lot to do with his name being on it.
Yeah.
This does not have Clooney's name on it,
No, this
or
George
someone
Clooney has nothing to do with this movie,
or
with Young
close
Woman and Sea.
to a Hollywood star or power player close to that is not involved in this movie.
No, no. It was directed by Joachim Roning, a Norwegian director.
Okay.
So,
Alright.
not a George Clooney, maybe a very nice guy, or he might be a monster. We don't know.
Who knows?
But yes, there's Daisy Ridley seems to be the biggest star or name on this movie, which is not necessarily a good sign.
No.
I the Star Wars movies, those Star Wars sequels really didn't do much to make anyone of that new cast a bigger star than they already were. You know,
No.
those movies didn't hurt Adam Driver, but they definitely did not turn John Boyega or Daisy Ridley into stars.
I will push back a little bit. I do think those movies sort of made Adam Driver as a movie star because he's the one out of everybody in that cast who really got big opportunities afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right in the sense that studios looked at him as someone who's famous enough that you could have him be the lead of that time traveling, dinosaur
Yeah,
movie.
that was just what I was gonna say. He does not get 65 if he wasn't in Star Wars,
Right,
but he
right.
still gets to do Patterson.
Yes, and I think all of the big directors whose
Ferrari, yeah,
movies, yeah, like Scorsese puts him in Silence, and Michael Mann puts him in Ferrari, and he does all the, he's still the lead in Marriage Story. So
yeah,
I think if it's not for Star Wars, Adam Driver doesn't get 65. So that's the big alternate timeline that some people are living in right now in a in
mhm,
a in a multiverse. So the other movie coming out this weekend is a movie called In a Violent Nature,
mm,
and this is a IFC Films. It's going to go on Shutter type of situation. So a late night with the devil type movie. And this is about a serial killer in the woods slashing, but it's from the POV of the killer. That is the
yes,
gimmick here. And Clayton, this is a day that I've been waiting for a long time, because on a different version of this show years and years ago, when we would talk about movies we saw, we went and saw a movie called Hardcore Henry.
mm,
And coming out of that movie, my big take was that this is the future of movies.
yeah,
POV movies where you get to be the lead character. That is going to be what movies are. That was my theory coming out of it. I was so hyped up on Hardcore Henry. And it hasn't quite panned out that way. I do think the pandemic affected that. I'm always going to say that if
mhm.
not for the pandemic, Hardcore Henry type movies were about to be the thing.
You mean the
Uh,
bird flu, you mean H1N1 because that's how long ago Hardcore Henry came out.
yes, Hardcore Henry, it was the mad cow disease, right? Wasn't
Mhm,
Hardcore Henry out around the same time when Oprah gave everyone, or said everyone was going to get mad cow, whatever that
mhm.
was? That was when Hardcore Henry came out. And here we go. We've got a Hardcore Henry situation. We got a POV movie.
Now
And do we think that this is going to be, finally, everyone says, we finally got our Hardcore Henry situation. Let's effing go.
now, Pat, I hate to ruin this for you. Have you seen the trailer for this film?
I have seen the trailer. It's not fully
Okay,
uh
yeah,
it follows him, but it's
yeah.
not, yeah, it's
It
not
it's
Hardcore
not
Henry. Okay.
it's not the part in Doom starring The Rock where it
Oh,
starts out and it's right, it's not Hardcore
it's
Henry.
not that the whole movie.
No, it follows the slasher the whole
Oh,
time, which is the different thing. I've read
oh,
reviews where they say it's like a nature film
oh, but it's not a
more,
Hardcore
but
Henry.
it's not a Hardcore Henry. So the future
Oh,
but listen, the future is still the future. So this could be the future. Remember how long it took for found footage movies to take off after Blair Witch?
mhm.
I mean, it wasn't like Paranormal Activity came out right after it. So there is a possibility that your Hardcore Henry future can come to pass. But what I'll say about this film is that I think even if it doesn't pull off what it's trying to do, there is a newness to it, or at least the concept of it. I think that trailer is really awesome and really makes you want to see this. So, is it going to be Late Night with the Devil? Uh, Probably not. But I mean, I think this is going to be a movie that people are going to go see in the theater, even though they know it's a Shutter movie because horror always wins.
Mhm.
The Strangers overperformed. The Strangers Chapter 1, a movie we thought was not an IP, it did really well, and this is a movie I think people are buzzing about. The horror heads know when a movie like this is coming out in theaters. They will go and see it in theaters and watch it again on Shudder. I mean, we saw this with Terrifier 2.
Mhm.
If they wanna see it, it doesn't matter. They'll go see it. They'll
Mhm.
find a way. Horror finds a way.
Mhm.
And so I think this could be a little sleeper movie, especially because there's not really anything out right now that is must see. There's nothing out there that says, "Come see me now." And I think
Right.
this movie has the feeling of "Come see me now" on the big screen because it's gonna be an interesting prospect to see a movie shot like a nature film with a slasher killer in it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think with this, obviously, the screen count is gonna determine, like, how much of a chance it even has to do numbers, but I'm looking at
Mhm.
Late Night with the Devil, that came out March 22nd, opened in 1,000 theaters, and opened to 2.8 million. I mean, that
Yeah.
did really well. The other one that, depending on the theater count, it could be more of a comp to is, My Beloved Skinamarink, which
Mm.
opened in only 690 theaters, opened to 800,000, ended up getting to 2 million total. So it really depends on just how wide they're releasing this. This probably, in terms of appeal, is probably closer to a Skinamarink in that it's such a gimmick.
Yeah.
Whereas Late Night with the Devil is more recognizable as a movie. And
And as much
this
as
might
he's
be more of an art piece the way Skinamarink was.
and also as much as, the star of Late Night with the Devil isn't somebody that I could even name, even though
Right.
I was in several Wendy's commercials with him back in the
Mhm.
day, he is a recognizable actor.
Yes,
He's
he's a that
somebody
guy.
that he's a that guy, and I think people went to that movie partly because it's like, "Oh, it's that guy doing this thing,"
Yep.
and this movie doesn't have that.
Yes,
It
yes.
it 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 lives and dies by its gimmick, which is what Skinamarink did.
Yeah, and that's why I do think In a Violent Nature would have a even better chance if it had gone full hardcore Henry and it wasn't just following the serial killer, it
You
was
were
through
it.
the eyes, and you were. Yeah,
Yeah.
I still, will die on that hill that we need to fully embrace the hardcore Henry, and not every movie. I still want a variety. I still want movies where you see the lead character and it's not all through your eyes. But I do think 45% of films should be that hardcore Henry first person POV.
Mhm. Well, listen, you gotta make the things you wanna see, Pat.
Yeah,
So
you're right. You're right. And this, it might be time for me to, take one episode off, work on my hardcore Henry-esque film. Obviously, I wouldn't miss 2 episodes in a row because, that's against the rules. Everyone knows the
mm,
rules.
yeah.
But I might have to miss an episode to work on a hardcore Henry genre film.
Great, I'll just roll solo because I can handle that. I don't need anybody else.
So you wouldn't call Jack or have Christopher call Jack
No,
for you.
because I respect his sabbatical.
Interesting. Um, so one last thing on just going back real quick to summer camp. I did pull up the Diane Keaton numbers of the this post book club run, and it is pretty dire. You mentioned Palms, that came out 2019, got to 13 million domestic total.
That's higher than
Mac
I expected.
Mac and Rita is where the wheels fall off the car because Mac and Rita comes out August 22 and does a total of $2.5 million.
Wow.
Maybe I Do in January of 23 does a total of $1.2 million. And then Book Club The Next Chapter does 17.5 million total, where the original did 68 million total. So it really was Book Club and then 80 for Brady. And otherwise, that genre just did not ever really pick up. So, I mean, do we think summer camp is in the Palms category where it's going to get to 10 million total, or do we think this is Mac and Rita and this thing tops out at like 2 million?
Oh, I think somewhere in between. I think this is in between Mac and Rita and Palms. I just think that the concept is more. I think there's. I mean, just when you look at who's in this movie compared to who's in Mac and Rita, you've got, Diane Keaton was in Mac and Rita, and then the lead actress, I don't know who that was. Simon Rex was not in the movie enough.
Right.
This has Josh Peck, who is really hot right now.
Yeah.
Eugene Levy, who is a guy that a lot of people know at this point.
Yeah.
And I do think Kathy Bates, as much as I sort of really just panned the fact that she was in this, not panned the fact that she was in, but looked aside,
Scoffed.
scoffed at, as being
Mhm.
glib.
Yes.
I do think the fact that she is adding her gravitas to
Mhm.
this genre is actually a really big get, because she hasn't been in these old ladies having fun movies before. And so I think
Okay.
she's sort of a get.
Yeah.
The one they need to get, and I'm not sure if she would want to be on camera at the moment or at all. I don't know. She, listen, she's probably off living her best life and we love it. But Cher, because Cher is a
Mm.
great actor, and I think that Cher in one of these women of a certain age having fun movies would be great.
Well, I mean, the movie that Cher did a few years ago, was, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but she was in Mamma Mia 2, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, where she was pretty much the featured cameo at the end of the movie. And that movie did 120 domestic, 400 million total worldwide.
I
So I
mean,
think
so
Cher is just picking her shots. Like she knew I'm going to be in Mamma Mia 2. It's going to be this giant reveal. All the characters in the movie are going to go totally banana when I come in. So I think she's going to avoid doing something like Palms 2, Repalm, and being like the third person who they're all getting together to go to, a cheerleading convention reunion.
well, she's getting sent all these scripts. So she obviously read Summer Camp and passed,
Mhm.
because there's
Mhm.
no way you don't offer this to Cher. So, she could be. I mean, she's waiting for the next book club. She maybe turned down book club and was upset about it. Then she saw that the sequel tanked, and she's like, okay, well, I can't be in the sequel of any of these movies. Other than,
Right.
I mean, she was in the sequel of Mamma Mia, but that's different. I mean,
Right.
th- you know, I do think she would have to have her own franchise. She would have to be the Jane Fonda of whatever the women of a certain age having fun movie is that gets Cher.
Right, right, right. And it does seem like this genre is on the downswing. So it's probably better for Cher to just wait for other projects.
Yeah. I mean, this is a
It's a
this
dying
is
genre.
well, it's a
This
dying
is a
genre
dying
because it's
genre.
starring dying people. And that's
Yeah.
not, I'm not being glib when I'm saying that. Is like there are, once these women of a certain age pass on, there's really nobody around their age to pick up the mantle. I mean, the next age of people is going to be, you're going to have Julia Roberts starring in these movies,
Right. It's Reese Witherspoon, Julia Roberts, and Jennifer Aniston. Yeah.
and Cameron Diaz. I mean, there's nothing in between. There's nothing in between Diane Keaton and Cameron Diaz.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
is there? What are the big actors in between those ages?
Um yeah, I'm trying to think who would be, I guess, the 80s stars. Because if you're looking at Diane Keaton and Jane Fonda are more 1970s originated stars, and Cameron Diaz is a 90s originated star. Yeah, it's Julia Roberts, I guess.
Yeah,
Is Julia Roberts, Deborah Winger
I mean,
together.
but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Julie Roberts is the only one you can really name, and her big hit came in '90.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's a dying genre, and you may have to wait another 10 years before Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon could then be in
Age
book
into
club
it.
3. They could age into it. Yeah. So let's, I mean, I guess let's do our predictions. Let's do our top fives. And I don't think any of these newbies are going to factor into it. So, uh, Clayton, you're back. And
Oh, I'm thinking I'm back.
would you like to take the honor of going first and giving your top five predictions for the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, number 1, I think Garfield movie takes the
Hmm.
crown because I just feel like it's a kids movie. The people are gonna go take their kids to it. The rats need their cheese, as you say. I do think it drops probably around I'll say it drops around 40%, so maybe
Oh,
this
wow. Good hold.
makes about, let's see, that would be around 14,000,000.
Hmm.
I think Mad Max Fury Road oh, sorry, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga drops pretty precipitously.
Hmm.
I do see a 60 in the 60s
Wow.
for this. So I'm gonna say 11.
Hmm.
Number 3, I think If is gonna hold steady there.
Okay.
So I think that it's going to make about I could see this, it dropped 50% last weekend. So I feel like it might drop another 50.
Okay.
So that would put it around 8. Under that, number 4 is gonna be Kingdom,
Hmm.
Planet of the Apes. That's gonna be number 4, and then number 5, I think Strangers Chapter 1 overtakes Fall Guy.
Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize how neck and neck they were. I mean, they were
Yeah.
400,000 apart. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I think The
Wow.
Strangers is I mean, that movie's made 21,000,000. That is amazing for this movie,
Wow.
and yeah, I think that's my top 5. I
All
don't
right.
think I know.
Number one, I agree. Garfield will be number one. Yeah, I think that hold. I think you kind of nailed it around 13, 14 million. Number two is going to be If. I think
Holy
Mad
shit.
Max is going to fall that far. And If is going to remember this would be If's third weekend. So I think it's going to hold and make like 11 or 12, and I could see Furiosa falling to make like 10 million for the weekend.
So you're saying Morbius.
Yeah, I think this is a Morbius drop. It's got such bad buzz, and there doesn't seem to be a real attraction to get people to go see this. The only saving grace is it's going to have all the PLF, so that's
Mhm.
probably, if I'm wrong, that'll be why I'm wrong. Is just that it's just going to have so many high ticket price tickets sold. But I'm going to stick with If number two, Furiosa number three, Apes number four, and then number five. Yeah, I think you are right. I think The Strangers is going to get ahead of the Fall Guy. I can't see. I was like tempted to say Summer Camp is going to get in there, but there's no way Summer Camp makes
No.
it's going to, if at best it opens to like 1.2 million.
The only way Fall Guy retains number 5 is in a violent manner. Is that the name of that movie? I
Steal in a violent
Ste
nature, steals all the
Nature
strangers. Yeah.
steals some of the strangers, the gorehounds from the strangers, but even then, I just don't think that
Yeah.
Fall Guy is gonna stay at number 5. It's gonna fall.
Yeah. So that is our prediction. So we'll see over the weekend how these movies do. And then next week, Clayton, is a huge week because we'll be getting ready for a movie that people are really hoping is going to reboot the summer, which is Bad Boys Part
Mm.
4.
Ooh,
And
oh my goodness.
so we'll talk about that a lot next week. That's going to be huge. And hearing that we've got some big special guests that want to join us to talk about Bad Boys.
Do
So,
you want me to take a week off so that they can sit in the chair? Is that what you is this guest special enough that is bumping me?
well, I think you would agree that this guest would be worth uh bumping you, yeah.
Can you tell
But
me
you
who
know
it
what?
is?
Well, listen, all I could say is we got a live show in Boston coming up in November, and that show is going to have a special guest, and that same special guest is very excited to talk about Bad Boys with us at some
Okay,
point soon.
okay. No, I gotta
So,
be here for this one. He'd be
yeah,
upset if I was gone for that
yeah.
one. Yeah.
So
You wouldn't.
so
You're never upset when I'm gone.
no, I just roll with it and take advantage of a situation for my own benefit.
Mhm.
So email us, the BO Boys podcast at gmail.com. We've got a lot of great emails, but this episode was just too jam packed. So we'll read emails on the next one. The BO Boys podcast at gmail.com. Watch us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. Hey guys.
Hey, guys.
Of course, follow us on social media. Wanna BO senior intern Christopher, killing it on social media with the vertical videos on Twitter X, on TikTok. Great job. Of course, Wanna BO junior intern Jack. He's brought back the Substack. He's on a little brief hiatus from writing articles, but
Do you wanna say
listen,
something bad about him?
no, he's great. Our
Alright.
interns are doing great, and they're ready to step up when needed. And he had to take a little bit of a break, but I've stepped in. I wrote an article this week that has just gotten rave reviews. I wrote 3 lessons that we could learn from the failure of the Garfield movie. So if you haven't already, go check that out on the Substack. And think I'll be picking up the pen more often because people loved it. I wrote
Mhm.
something and people loved it. So give the people what they want. But 3 lessons we can learn from the Garfield movie is on our Substack. Go subscribe there and read all of our articles. And the live shows, you can buy tickets for the Los Angeles show right now. Link in the show notes. Going to have Scott Mendelson and Jeff Bach together. I think this may be the first time they've ever shared a stage together.
Mhm.
So this is box office history. So if you haven't yet, tickets on sale October 8th in Los Angeles at the Yard Theater. Buy your tickets now. And 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And I think that's it, Clayton. I think we have said it all tonight.
Pat, we maybe said too much.
Yeah, we may have. So there's nothing left to say.
Except for until next time.
We'll
We'll
smell
smell you
you
at
at
the
the
box
box office.
office.